Hi, this is Tim of Watchbox. SIHH 2018. We're with Jaeger LeCoultre, which has built a palatial recreation of the manufacturer lobby here in the Pal Expo. And we've got a special treat for today. Not precisely a watchmaker, but just as accomplished. You're actually looking at Casafaliano in action. Famed manufacturers of polo boots for royalty, the rich, the famous, the bright and the beautiful, here crafting Faliano straps for Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso watches. Now, as you can see this year, a broad range of Reverso watches will be available with Faliano straps. You're actually looking at Edward Faliano, son of Rodolfo, founder of the house, creating a Reverso strap in real time. He's executing the finishing of the cordovan right now. You can see the traditional tools that he uses and traditional materials. It's always helpful to have a little bit of water handy. At the same time, you can see how the raw materials eventually turn into finished straps on the 2018 Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso collection. Edward has been here all day, working away within the Pal Expo, and you can see the finished product is a product worth the wait. This is Edward Faliano of Casafaliano with Jaeger LeCoultre creating Reverso straps from Shell Cordovan at SIHH 2018. We are going to handle the entire Polaris collection, starting with the Charter member. Now, this is the Jaeger LeCoultre Polaris Memovox, a limited edition of 1,000 pieces. This is new for 2018, and it is the anchor of the line. The 1,000 pieces featuring pronounced vintage cues, including the triple crown, the one at 2 o'clock for setting the alarm, the one in the center for the unidirectional, or I should say bi-directional internal bezel, and the one at 4 o'clock used to wind and set the timepiece. Now, the vintage cues here, other than the obvious layout of the case, dial, and crowns, include a dramatically domed box section sapphire. This is common to only 2 models in the line, although all feature a more prominent sapphire. You can see on the Automatic with Date and the Memovox, it's downright domed in tribute to the plexiglass as featured on the original. Now, the other feature that is exclusive to the Automatic with Date and the Polaris Memovox is the vanilla coloration of the indices and hands. Now, that is the nomenclature I'm advised to use by Jaeger LeCoultre. It's not quite a simulated patina, and it's not a modern contemporary white or lime green luminova, but it does have a charming and warm vintage appeal. Now, the watch features a sunray inner dial with a grained hour track. All the indices and hour numerals are applied, and of course you can see in classical fashion there is a bi-directional rotating diving style bezel. So the watch is a diver, 200 meters water resistant. The timepiece features a caliber 956 automatic Memovox internally. You'll also note the presence of a rubber strap, and I should note that across the board, the 2018 Polaris line is available on leather, either calf or alligator, available on rubber, and available with bracelets. Now, you can see that the watch features a full deployant clasp. The caseback, also vintage inspired, features a small deviation from the original. You can see the Super Compressor case icon from the original 1968 Polaris, and this was previously inside the case. It was a multi-back case for various reasons of sound transmission and water resistance. Now it's on the exterior of the caseback. As you can see, 20 bar water resistant, still passing through the 1,000 hours control. This is a 42 millimeter timepiece in stainless steel, and again, a limited edition of 1,000 pieces. Moving on to the other vintage inspired, or I should say closely vintage inspired reference in the catalog, we're looking at the Polaris Automatic with Date. Now, this is also a 42 millimeter watch in stainless steel. You can see the twin crowns, one for winding and setting the watch, and the other for the internal rotating bezel. Once again, this is a dive capable watch, and once again, it features the combination of the Super Compressor caseback, 200 meter water resistance, the vanilla coloration of hands, indices, and numerals, as well as the dramatically boxed section sapphire. You'll also note that the lugs of the watch across the board are nicely cropped, relatively short, and sharply downturned. So even though, for example, this watch features a strap with conforming end pieces, it doesn't have a whole lot of tendency to flare, pretty much pulls straight down. Also, you can see equipped with a full deployant clasp. It should be noted that this year, Many references will include rapid release spring bars through the Polaris range. Now you get those on the leather straps. They're not compatible with the rubber or the bracelet, but on the leather alligator or calf, you do get quick release spring bars and a clasp that can be removed without tools, so you can rapidly swap between models, okay? We're going to step down to 41 millimeters for a moment. This is the Polaris Automatic 41 millimeters. You can see it's a little bit distinctly vintage in appearance than the Memovox and the Automatic with the date. The coloration of the luminescence is more modern. It's a straight white. It still has the sunburst inner dial and the grained hour track with applied indices and numerals. And of course, it does feature the internal rotating bezel. The timepiece actually features a display caseback, and it features a variant of the Jaeger LeCoultre Automatic caliber 898, which you can see at good advantage. The steel watches in the line feature tungsten rotors. The gold watches feature gold rotors. All are free sprung, so it is a sports watch movement architecture. Unidirectional winding with ceramic rotor bearings, very tough. 1,000 hours control. These are water resistant to 10 bar or 100 meters. Now you can see even this entry-level model does include a deployant clasp, and this is a robust calf skin, giving you a sense of the grain and coloration as well as the thickness of the cut used on this model line. And you can also see the quick release spring bars that I mentioned earlier. What I can't communicate, or at least can't communicate visually, is the sheer softness of the strap on the underside. As you can see, made in France, probably by Camille Fournet for Jaeger LeCoultre. This is buttery smooth leather, as good as it gets. Think Hermes, and you've got the general idea. Okay, we're gonna move over to a different look for a moment. I want to show you a quick dial variation so you can get a sense of the dial colors, and the metallic finish of the center dial is more evident when you look at the Polaris Date with the blue coloration. It's rich, it's a medium blue, it's best described as a sort of metallic cobalt at center and a lighter take on navy on the bezel as well as the hour track. Quite handsome. You can see this one also equipped with a calfskin strap. I'm going to jump one more time, give you a different aesthetic. And now you can see the same watch, the same model, the same dial, albeit on the bracelet that can be had with the line. Now again, all models available with rubber strap, leather and calf or alligator, as well as the bracelet. The bracelet, as is traditional with Jaeger LeCoultre since the 1990s, is double deployant with quadruple triggers, and there are 2 micro releases. You can see the notch of the micro release. It has that on both sides of the clasp. And Jaeger LeCoultre tells me that it's the equivalent, if you deploy both, of adding 1 full link. Likewise, if you take them both in, it's the equivalent of subtracting 1 full link. You can see the pin-style construction of the bracelet as well as the contrasting finish satin down the center, polished on the outer periphery. And if you look at it in relief against my white base, you can see that it is robustly aerated to allow the wrist to vent on a hot day. Sweat, oil, moisture, grit being able to escape. Okay, we're going to do another switch right now. And I'm going to show you the Polaris Chronograph. Now, the Polaris Chronograph, I should clarify, along with the other Polaris models, will be replacing much of what's currently known as the Master Extreme line, including the deep seas. So if it seems like it has a little bit of overlap with existing model lines, rest assured it is going to become more or less the exclusive sports watch offering from Jaeger LeCoultre. So let's talk a little bit about the chronograph. This is caliber 751 manufacture, still 42 millimeters in diameter. You can see how it has the same case profiling as well as the same contrasting finish, with the bevel and high polish accentuating the curvature of the lug. The watch features vintage-inspired rectangular or lozenge-style pushers, and a deliberate decision was made to minimize the impact of the chronograph graphics as well as registers on the dial. They wanted the indices, they wanted the hour track, they wanted the general look of the Polaris to be preserved, and thus you can see outboard a visual substitute for the rotating bezel of the dive versions. You can see a tachymeter scale appropriate for a chronograph. They also decided that a twin register featuring seconds and chronograph minutes would be less disruptive. Now let's take a look at the case back. Deploy both sides. Okay, let me see if I can get it. There we go. Sort of. Okay. Now you can see caliber 751. Believe it or not, this is the first time that Jaeger LeCoultre has issued a watch in which a caliber 750 family member was visible. You can see the column wheel, you can see a richly textured Côte de Genève. The tungsten rotor has been slightly blackened. Again, you've seen this movement in Cartier watches, but you've never seen it in a display case on a Jaeger LeCoultre. This one's also 100 meters water resistant. As you can see, the bracelet similar in construction. There's no difference from the previous Polaris bracelet that we explored. Now I'm going to take you to the top of the line. Pardon some of my pauses. I'm trying to collaborate amicably with my fellow journalists. This is the chronograph in rose gold. You do get a few changes when you go with rose gold. First, you get this unique anthracite dial finish, sunbursted center, grained outer, rose gold hands for center, seconds, minutes, and hours, plus registers. The rose gold watch, and this is important, comes with a rose gold rotor. So you do get that upscale refinement. You can see the same quick release spring bars that are used across the line. This was a decision made by Jaeger LeCoultre, and it was a conscious one, not to go with some sort of proprietary quick release lug system. Now, if you remember the Master Compressor Extremes of the 2000s, they used standard straps. You didn't have to get a custom strap, but if you look at, for instance, the new Cartier Santos, the old Cartier Roadster, the IWC Aquatimers, the Hublot Big Bangs, Ferraris, and Unicos, you need special straps that are both more expensive and remove your option of fitting aftermarket straps to your watch. You still get the option of going aftermarket, and you still get a reasonable purchase price for the strap with the quick release spring bar. Patek does it, Journe does it, and now Jaeger LeCoultre does it. Moreover, it gets a matching double deployant clasp in rose gold. That too can be released. As you can see, push here to remove the clasp. It's easy to swap straps with these watches. This could be described as a variation on Jaeger LeCoultre's 4th generation deployant clasp, or simply the 5th generation. Whether you consider it by design to be 4.4 or generation 5, it does have a reprofiled outer buckle, and it is quite handsome as well as quite substantial, with a curvature to trace the arc of your wrist for good ergonomics. So this is the Polaris Chronograph in rose gold. Okay, we're going to swap one more time. And now we have the mechanical flagship of the range, 44 millimeters in titanium. This is the Polaris Chronograph World Time. So 44, it is the largest. Titanium, it's also the lightest. So though the smallest watch in the collection is 41 millimeters in steel, this watch is lighter than the automatic. You can see there are 24 principal time zones representing 24 cities, and you can also see that there's a small sort of arrow index next to those cities in which daylight savings time is observed. As ever, indices and numerals are applied to the dial. It is a twin register chronograph. Once more, you can see the movement within the case. Tungsten rotors for titanium watches. This one's 100 meters water resistant, which is the minimum for any of the new Polaris watches. This is the blue dial in titanium with a calfskin strap, and we're going to go and check out the other aesthetic available, which is the black dial. Now, this is also titanium, opaline or frosted hour track with the sunburst center. Both of these watches are handsome, and I have to say, though there's been some controversy on my Instagram about the size of the watches, they're really both quite reasonably sized. On the wrist, you would swear the watch is a 42. Eyes closed, you'd swear it's a 39 or a 40 because it is so light. Now, the watch comes with a double deployant clasp. As you can see, the double deployant clasp body is actually made of stainless steel for durability, and like other strap-borne members of the Polaris class of 2018, features the quick release spring bars. The watch is handsome, well made, and the chronograph architecture with a column wheel and a vertical clutch is both crisp to operate, and there's no jump or stagger to the seconds hand. Plus, you can operate the chronograph continuously with no additional wear and tear due to the vertical clutch architecture. This and the Polaris chronograph feature twin mainspring barrels and a 65-hour power reserve, and though they do not feature dates, they do retain the hacking or stop seconds function of the underlying caliber 750 architecture. Both are also free-sprung with laser-welded hairsprings and unidirectional winding systems on ceramic rotor bearings for longer maintenance intervals as well as greater durability in practice. I'm Tim with Jaeger LeCoultre 2018, and this is the new Polaris sports watch collection.